Hi Jacqueline, this is Tony doing a critique on your landscape pictures. So I'm going to go through these here individually. So let me kind of do an overall here and kind of look at all the images that you have. So far looking really good. Okay. All right, so let me start up at the top. So this looks like Bee Tree Park. It's been a while since I've been there, but that building looks like that building in Bee Tree Park. And oh, there's a bee. So anyway, very nice shot here, the first shot where you're looking through the trees, using the trees to frame the river as a nice effect. Your exposure looks good there too. If you have the chance to go into Photoshop, I think one of the things that I might have done would be maybe go in and run maybe a little bit of saturation on it to kind of warm up the image. It looks just a little on the cool side. And maybe give it a little bit more saturation where the green is a little snappier, but that's just a minor comment. It also shows, nice depth of field. So you have your leaves in the foreground are in focus, and the background at infinity also in focus. So that's really nice. The next one is nice just for the opposite reason of the shallower depth of field. The shallow depth of field makes that bumblebee, whatever that hornet or bee or whatever it is, really pop out. And the exposure, this is nice, since you're in the shade, you can kind of see the brightness in the background, but the way that the bee is represented in the shaded area here, really nice and delicate. The shallow depth of field really adds to that. I think I might have cropped off maybe whenever you're looking at a picture, the brightest part of the picture is usually where your eye goes to first. And so I might have chopped off a little bit of this top part up here. But anyway, I think I would have done a little bit more crop, maybe chopped off maybe a little bit of the left part too. Mainly because I want to put the bee in a position of a little bit more prominence, and when you crop in on something like that, it would make the bee a little bit bigger in terms of the image of the area too. So, but otherwise, beautiful shot. Love the colors, love the shallow depth of field. So let's scoot along here. Now the shot of this piece of sculpture, the fountain, looks a little on the washed out side. So, and a lot of times what this can happen is because, and this is a perfect thing, especially as one of those things where I'm hoping that you're learning in this particular lesson is that this is the exposure compensation lesson, and I'm hoping that you get a chance to work with that exposure compensation dial. And this particular sculpture being kind of a dark sculpture, it looks like the camera's meter read it as being kind of dark, and so that it lightened up the image, based on how the meter was reading, and you got somewhat of a kind of an overexposed look to the picture, because it could definitely be a little bit darker to match what the way that sculpture really looks. The next shot is very nice. Love this one. So you got the foreground wall, and then pointing up towards the stone of the house, and then also those nice white puffy clouds and the blue sky up there. Very nice. So, and probably would make a really nice black and white image too. But in terms of like any kind of Photoshop stuff, the only thing that maybe I would have gone into, I might have made this green just a little snappier, if you were able to go into Photoshop and do something. And I probably would have gotten rid of this leaf, but those are just like little picky things. But in terms of being able to shoot where you have a depth of field, oh wait a minute, maybe these are two separate pictures now that I'm looking at it. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this now and I see, oh, these are really two separate pictures. So this one is looking up at the bee tree, that house that's there in Bee Tree Park, just all by itself, uh, that works out very well in terms of balance between the sky and the architectural elements, and also very good exposure. I really like the blue and the white puffy clouds, but as I was looking at it, almost in combination with this other one below it, um, this probably could also be a very nice black and white image too. But yeah, I've asked that everybody shoot color. So, but I'm looking at that and just thinking. But yeah, in terms of composition, color, and everything, this top one looks great. This next one, um, it is not as strong as your this one right above it, but has a nice texture look to it. I guess one of the things in here, in terms of like depth of field or something, this little leaf back here, it just kind of detracts a little bit. I would have gone in there in Photoshop and wiped it out if you have the ability to do that. And then maybe made this little green leaf, this little weed here, a little snappier. But in terms of landscape, yeah, it's okay. It's all right. The next one, also kind of like in that same vein in terms of exposure compensation, when you have subjects that are kind of dark, especially like these dark barked trees, your camera's meter will look at something like that and say to the camera, "Oh, this is something kind of dark. We better lighten it up." Well, in fact, it doesn't know whether or not the subject is kind of dark too. So in this case right here, this is a perfect example of where you would need to use your exposure compensation, which is like part of this assignment. This next one with the flowers, love this one. This is great. This turns out really nice, beautiful colors. Exposure is very nice. Wouldn't change a thing about this. This is very nice image. Like the how kind of monochromatic background and how that really makes the red of those roses really pop. So very nice on that, and nice that it's shallow depth of field where your f-stop is maybe more open and making the background go a little bit softer. Okay, this next one also, same kind of thing. You have kind of a darker subject and your camera's meter is being somewhat fooled. And so you need to go into that exposure compensation and maybe put it like in a -1, a -2, or a minus 0.07, whatever, just something that we shoot a few things where it actually goes so that it makes your image a little bit darker. And same thing with this next one with the trees in the pond. In reality, it could be, as you're looking at this image, it looks just a little washed out. So pay attention to that exposure compensation. This next one with the grasses next to the pond, this one's fine. This one works out just fine. I like how the white of the sky reflecting in the pond or the river, I guess maybe that's the river, shows through and shows the stems of the grass. Also, the shallow depth of field works here too because it makes the grass pop, and the softer background back there adds to the grass being nice and sharp and being the point of focus there. This is kind of an interesting shot. I love like trying to find old logs, on the bank of, I guess this might be the river, or if this is a pond, I'm not really sure. But definitely, as I look at something like this, you're kind of looking at it at eye level. It might have been a little bit more interesting if you had gotten down a little bit closer to the level of the this log here and looked down it like that. Just a little something in terms of as you're looking down on it, it doesn't have quite the same sort of drama as maybe as if you had gotten down a little bit closer to it. But otherwise, exposure-wise, it looks pretty good. I think I might have chopped off a little bit of the top here, cropped off a little bit of the top, and basically kept my focus, in more on here. So if I had chopped off a little bit more off the top, in terms of cropping, and maybe made it just a little bit darker, maybe that little bit might have gotten a little bit more drama in the reflections in the pond or river, whichever that might be. But what I'd like to see, and which is part of the assignment, is I want to make sure that you can use the exposure compensation. So make sure that you throw in 3 extra shots here, so that you've got one the same shot, but one where it's 2 stops overexposed, one where it's like right on normal exposure, and then one where it's like 2 stops underexposed. So otherwise, that your landscape assignment looks great, but just make sure you throw in those 3 shots for the exposure compensation. So otherwise, very nice.